Well, well, well. So, we have reached another week where the world seems to have gone crazy, mostly because it's election season, though we're not going to talk about the election. But it's always weird to me whenever a video game comes out that is effectively a shining example of everything that is wrong in the video game industry, and that's going to be an interesting subject to talk about. Not to mention, we also get to talk about Johnny Somali getting beat up because fuck him. It's going to be a fun week, to say the least. So, let's go ahead and get right to it. Welcome, folks, once again to On the Grind. Alright, one thing that I have realized that we need to start doing week to week is letting people know who's here. Because Wayne and Xavier sadly have not been able to make it in a while. So I am joined this week by our social media manager, Serena.
Hi.
And our editor-in-chief, Mike.
Hello.
And he has our review this week. Apparently Palworld has a new album, so Mike, take it away.
So, I don't know if I'm just getting old or not, right? I swear to God, there's a period in everyone's life where they just don't like things anymore as much. And I'm worrying that I'm getting close to that. And it involves Wake Up the Wicked. This was released back in July 26, 2024. Earlier this year, And I really liked Powerwolf. I got into them roughly 2015, and I listened to their previous albums. I listened to Lupus Dei, Bible of the Beast, Blood of the Saints, Creatures of the Night, Blessed and Possessed, Sacrament of Sin, and Call of the Wild. And then I kind of didn't really like Interludium, and I really don't care for Wake Up the Wicked. And I'm just wondering if I'm reaching that point where my musical taste is just kind of like stuck at a certain point. Because, well, I don't mind it. Because the way it comes off is it's more of the same. I wouldn't change the album if it came on, and I've certainly added it to my playlists. But I just don't seek anything out. Like, the only thing that kind of stuck out to my ear was the song Joan of Arc. And that more or less only because I really liked it kind of sounded closer to Blood for Blood in my ear, which from Call of the Wild. And unfortunately, the rest of the album is just kind of plain to my ear. I mean, it's Powerwolf, and it's very bombastic. It's very choral, and there's a lot of they still deal with the werewolf vampire shit, the Strigoi stuff. But I just can't bring myself to be arsed about it. And it's feels like a shame to me because it reminds me of this one chart I seen. I think it was posted on Something Awful way back when. That how do I put this? It makes fun of the way really popular bands go, and that they will constantly release a really decent first album, a really great second album, but then like a really shit third album. And then they go back to really great, really shit, and then they stabilize.
Mm-hmm.
That happened with the Rolling Stones, in that they had a really great first album, a really great second album, and then a shit third album, and then a great fourth, and then they just stabilized from that point on, just making the same stuff, where they figured out the formula. And it kind of feels like they figured out the formula for Wake Up the Wicked, in that just bombastic stuff, organs, power metal guitars. They're freaking Attila Dorn doing his style of just bombastic fucking choral singing. and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels to my ear like they've found the formula. This is how it's going to be from now on. They're not going to really make anything that's going to stand out to my ear anymore. And I'm worried that this may be the sign that I am getting older. Because I really did enjoy like Powerwolf a lot. When I first heard Army of the Night, I was like, who the fuck are these guys? And then I searched them out. Because, well, that's what you do. And then I just listened to the rest of them. And then I listened to Blessed and Possessed, the whole ass album. And I blast that all the time at work. It was fantastic. It's a fantastic fucking album. I love Blessed and Possessed. And I didn't mind Call of the Wild. Sacrament of Sin was sort of I mean, I wouldn't change it. Even though Stoska Beat is my favorite one on that album. Okay, so that one has a really funny joke. I love that one. Stoska Beat is hard and fast prayer. It's a type of prayer where you go by yourself and you get it out really fucking quickly.
Yeah.
You pray for your forgiveness. But in the song, what he's doing is he's taking a young lady up to a tower and doing the same thing, giving her a good pounding prayer.
I see.
Yeah, he's teaching her the merits of Stoska Beat. And at that point, it's just like this whole. I like Powerwolf. It's just it feels like they're starting to reach that point, the Rolling Stones point, where you can listen to them, but they're not going to stand out to anybody else that doesn't really notice these things. And while I don't like it, it's more the same. And if you like more the same, that's I'm for it. But I was kind of hoping something on this album would stick out to my ear and be like, this is what I'm going to play. This is what I'm going to go look for. Because with like hell, let's go with Blessed and Possessed. That's Army of the Night all the day. I can listen to that all fucking day and not be tired of it. Blood of the Saints. Let me see. We Drink Your Blood. Even though that was the original single that I remember seeing and hearing video way back when, it was Army of the Night that was like, you know what? I'll give the rest of these songs a go. I'll go see what they're about. And Preachers of the Night. So let's see. Crossfire, enter in the night. Let's see. Aim and Attack. That's perfect from Preachers of the Night. That is how you open a CD. Fucking bombastic. You attack the fucking eardrums of everyone you're listening to. Fantastic. But Sacrament of Sin. Let me see. Where was... But yeah, Stoska Beat was my favorite from that. And then Call of the Wild. The Beast de Galvardin. Specifically because I know the history behind that particular song. As an aside, the Beast de Galvardin was a giant wolf, a wolf the size of a horse, that was attacking people in like isolated monasteries and nunneries. And it got so bad they had to send the army in to go and kill them. And when they found it, they couldn't believe that it was a wolf the size of a horse. There's a movie based on it that's called The Brotherhood of the Wolf, which is where Bloodborne came from. All the designs for the hunters and whatnot. That's where it came from. Yeah. And that movie is based on the actual real event in which a wolf the size of a horse was killing villages of people by itself. the only unreal thing about that was the whole fact that there was like a satanic cult that was controlling the wolf.
Yeah.
That's the only unreal thing. That's the fucked thing about that. If it was a giant horse-sized wolf. Oh, it was ridiculous.
So it was a dire wolf?
It could have been a wolf that had gigantism of some kind. Because wolves are way bigger than you think. Like a husky looks like a puppy next to a proper sized wolf. That's how big they are. And this was the size of a horse. And so when they killed it, they brought it back to the king, they had it stuffed, and they fucking lost it during the revolution. Someone stole it.
This one's still like a taxidermy dire wolf.
Because it's absolutely like it's the biggest fucking wolf. But yeah, back to the songs that I liked on these albums. Bible of the Beast. Let me see. Resurrection by Erection. I love that song. So in the song, the way they get their they become they wake up from their torpors getting their dick sucked by a really hot girl. That's the whole point of the song. That's it. And it's great. It sets the tone for like the rest of the songs, and it's just don't take anything seriously. Other than maybe like the little weird lore bits that they hide in behind, like the fact that they're crusaders from the 13th century that got turned into Romanian Strigoi that now worship Christ, but they actually talk about blood, and it's most of their discography I like. It's just Wake Up the Wicked feels like they're neutralizing. I don't really care for it. I wouldn't suggest against it. Go have a listen to it. It's just maybe it's my sign that I'm getting too old, and I'm kind of worried about that, honestly.
Well, I don't think you're alone in that sort of thing, because like I listened to Sabaton's most recent album, like not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I like Sabaton, but it's sort of a similar thing with them. Like they have some albums that I think are absolutely amazing. Careless Rex is incredible. The Last Stand is amazing. But a lot of their other stuff, it kind of just seems to... I don't think they've ever had a bad record. But a lot of it just kind of like falls into that pattern. It's like, it is the Sabaton album, you know?
So, yeah, with like Sabaton, they had Primo Victoria, Terrio Dominatus, Metalizer, The Art of War, Coat of Arms. Careless Rex is where I got into them. And then they had Heroes. I really loved The Last Stand. The Great War was kind of weak, even though I knew most of a good portion of the stories behind a bunch of those songs. And The War to End All Wars, I haven't listened to that yet. I really should.
It's just kind of the way that you're describing this album. You know, it's just like it's a Sabaton album. You know, I think that what you're describing happens to a lot of bands is they just kind of settle into that spot where they have established kind of like what they're gonna do for the near future, and they're just kind of there. Another band that's kind of like that is In Flames. Because In Flames is one of my favorite bands of all time. They have so many goddamn albums, though. But at a point with them, they kind of got a little experimental with their sound. Like they're one of the bands that started the melodic death metal style. It was them, Dark Tranquility, and At the Gates, all out of Gothenburg. And then around they released like 4 albums in a row that were just incredible. The Jester Race, Horacle, Colony, and Clayman. And then they did an album called Reroute to Remain, which they completely changed their style. And the style that they kind of adapted ended up becoming sort of like the beginnings of like the metalcore genre that we saw with like that was popularized by Kill Switch and Shadows Fall, Lamb of God, you know, those guys. And they have stuck with that since then. And they have this like streak of albums. Come Clarity was a good album, but then after that they have A Sense of Purpose, which is just kind of okay. Sounds of a Playground Fading, which is just kind of okay. Siren Charms, that kind of sucked, though it has a couple good songs. Battles, which was okay. I the Mask, which again was also okay. Like there's this long ass pattern that they fall into, and recently they had another banger album called Foregone. But I think that a lot of bands just they fall into that where it's just like they're not like I feel like don't compare a band ever to Metallica, because Metallica has such a weird thing where they've had so many ups and downs and style changes and shit like that. There isn't really like a Metallica album, you know, because they all feel so different from one another.
I was gonna say, because Young and Metallica, I would suggest fucking the Black Album and then the Master of Puppets.
Yeah, I would
Fucking
say it
right.
like Kill 'Em all the way up to Puppets is like mind-blowingly good. Though I will say I do think the song Search and Destroy is a little overrated. That's just me though. Or Seek and Destroy, not Search and Destroy.
Mm-hmm.
But I would compare it more to Megadeth as well. I love Megadeth. Megadeth, like, goddamn. Like, it's mind-boggling how fucking incredible Megadeth is as a band. And Dave Mustaine, if he does not go into, like, or if Megadeth does not go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it is a sham. But there's a point with Megadeth. I want to say it's around the time that they released United Abominations, like after that's like 2007 afterwards. Every album that they have released, I just kind of consider to be the Megadeth album. They're not bad albums by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not like, if I'm going to listen to Megadeth and like I want to put on some like really good Megadeth shit, I'm putting on Rust in Peace, I'm putting on Countdown, I'm putting on Cryptic Writings, even The World Needs a Hero, you know, and of course Peace Sells. It's just one of those things where it's like, I think every band hits that stride where like they're just putting out the insert band name here album. Devil Driver, I also feel, has kind of done that, and I love Devil Driver. Des Fafara is one of my favorite frontmen in metal ever, but they just kind of, it's like they have hit their groove, they know where they're at, but it's like we're not getting the super bangers anymore. Machine Head is another band like that. Love Machine Head. I've seen them live twice, I think. Yeah, but Machine Head, the last great album that they released was Bloodstone and Diamonds, and that was 2014, so 10 years ago. Because then they did an album after that called Catharsis, where I shit you not, Mike. Mm-hmm. I love Rob Flynn. Rob Flynn is a great frontman, great dude, shockingly short human being. But where I shit you not, they ripped off the riff from Love by Strapping Young Lad.
Oh.
Note for note. I heard that and I was pissed.
Well,
for those of you listening, Mike is the only one of my friends who understands this, because he also listens to Devin Townsend.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's kind of disrespectful, really.
Yeah.
At minimum.
I fucking love Devin Townsend's, like, specifically his work under the Devin Townsend Project. His solo work's not bad. It's just, like, Project was something special.
Mm-hmm.
and it sucks that they all broke up. Like I was legitimately very very upset when that happened. They have Devin Townsend is a madman, but in a good way. He is a genius.
I'm going to recommend as an aside, there is a performance that he made of Kingdom for EMG TV. Easily findable. It is the best version of that song I've ever heard.
Yeah,
because he plays live by himself.
And he's kind of just having
goofy.
Yeah, he's kind of just having fun with it. But it's so good. I remember there's a YouTuber named Rebecca Vocal Athlete. I don't know if you guys have seen this video where she is analyzing that performance of Kingdom. I swear to God, she starts to have an orgasm while she's listening to it. Like, she is just absolutely mystified by how fucking talented he is. And it's like, yeah, he is arguably the most talented person in all of heavy metal. It's hard to find a more complete artist than Devin Townsend. So when you take one of his riffs, it's to me it's so anger inducing. Now, to Rob Flynn's credit, he did apologize. He's like, we put it together. It was kind of a quick thing. I didn't realize what had happened until afterwards. And Devin being just like, he's Canadian, so he's a really nice guy. Just being like, hey, it's okay. It happens. But yeah, it's one of those things that's like, I mean, even Devin Townsend is kind of falling into that pattern. It's like you get to that point where you're just putting out the X album, you have, you have your peak as an artist, and then, it just kind of, it doesn't really, it just doesn't, you're still good, you're still talented, you're still you, and, you're still awesome, especially in regard, like, you're still putting out good work, but it's not necessarily always going to be great work,
Mm-hmm.
But at the very least, it's not bad work, and that to me is at least nice, because then you can still make a good living,
Suppose, yeah. Well,
but
persuasion my fears maybe a little, because I am approaching those years where it's just like, well, I am the new mental uncle for permanently now.
yeah. But God, like, if there's anything that we can definitely leave you guys with, God, don't seriously go listen to Devin Townsend Project. Holy fuck.
Mm-hmm. Especially check out that one video on EMG Land, EMG TV, because it's absurdly, it just showcases all his talents as like a showman, a fucking performer, a artist. It's absolutely like the performance of Kingdom.
Yeah. I would say,
love it.
Like, if you want to understand Devin Townsend as an artist, the Kingdom tells you everything you need to know about him. It is an incredible song. That another one that I would recommend is, if you're wanting to know like how deep this guy can go. There is a live performance of, oh God, what is the name of the song? He wrote it about his wife. It's one of his slower paced songs. I'm gonna have to look it up because it's on the concert he did in Plovdiv, which incredible live album, by the way. Deadhead. Listen to his live performance of Deadhead from the Z2 tour. That is another one. And then finally, if you don't watch those two, but if you want something heavier, just type "love?" into YouTube and listen to any version of it. It's one of the greatest heavy metal songs ever written. Admittedly, Devin is like kind of regretful of some stuff that went on during his strapping young lad days, because he was on a lot of drugs.
To be fair, I think everyone during the 80s was on all the drugs.
Well, this was like... Strapping was like late 90s, early 2000s, though. So he was like... But I think... I think he first got into drugs like in the 90s, because that's when he was Steve Vai's vocalist. There's a... this is one of the most hilarious things. Let me see if I can find this.
Oh yeah, back when Devin Townsend had fucking mostly had hair.
Well, he had hair, but he would shave it off.
He was starting to get real bad.
Next guest, the Grammy-nominated.
He's like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah, people just heard a little bit of the audio, which is my bad. But I'm going to put this in our Discord because I want Serena to watch it. Just like you could tell, Devin was on something here aside from just being Devin Townsend, because he is like, he shaved all of his hair off for this fucking performance on Jay Leno. And Steve Vai is just there doing Steve Vai things, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? That's Devin Townsend. He's great.
Oh yeah, he's strung out, this poor guy.
Yeah. But yeah, like, just Devin Townsend project, Alien by Strapping Young Lad, The New Black by Strapping Young Lad, Epicloud, Z2, and Addicted, I would say, are like his best albums. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So, Dragon Age finally got its 4th game. To call it... Go ahead, Serena.
I'll say after damn near a decade of silence.
Yeah. The last game to come out was Inquisition, which literally came out 10 years ago. So, originally what was going to be going on with this is that it was called the Dreadwolf. Now, I am going to spoil something. So for those of you who have not played any of the Dragon Age games and you might be interested in them, close your ears for about, let's say, 2 minutes. The basic idea is that there was a companion in Dragon Age Inquisition named Solus. He was an elf. Turns out he was actually one of the elven gods. You know, like the same ones that created the Blight. And,
Nice.
yeah, and the basic thing with him is that he was being set up as the next big bad. Which was kind of sad, because like he was a great companion. He's probably the best mage in the game. But so the next game was called the Dreadwolf, because it was just going to follow that up. And as time had gone on, there were stories that were coming out about Dreadwolf that were kind of worrying, because they said like they were going to go really hard on political commentary. And this was, of course, being developed during the first era of Trump. So people were seeing this and like, oh god, not again. We don't need more protest games. And then it got really quiet. And then there were rumors that it was going to be a live service game. And nobody liked the sound of that either. So then it got really quiet. And then, about a year ago, they unveiled that it's now the Veilguard. The art style is completely different. Looks like something out of Fortnite. And and people are like, what the fuck is this? Like, in fact, let me find the reveal trailer. Because I have the extension.
Yeah, the tone is so off-putting when you compare it to previous Dragon Age trailers. Especially Dragon Age 1 and 2.
Oh, the official reveal trailer wasn't even a year ago. It was 5 months. It was 5 months ago. And
Wow, really?
yeah. Like they just announced new name and then launched it 5 months later. Um, 47,000 thumbs up, 292,000 thumbs down.
Oh my, no one liked this.
And like
Very
the
ratio.
comments are great because it's like, what are we? Some sort of dragon Suicide Squad? Because people are immediately comparing it to the most recent Suicide Squad game. I didn't know Disney bought BioWare.
No.
Yeah. Where's the real trailer? Don't mind me. I'm just comparing the head sizes as is everyone else. Are you sure that this is dark fantasy?
Whose fantasy, more specifically?
Yeah. This one's great. I'm okay with Solus burning the world now.
Ugh. And Inquisition was kind of weak from what I hear, because I never played it.
I played Inquisition. It is like the characters are hit and miss. The entire story feels all over the place, especially when you get to the whole like palace intrigue, which is the weakest part of the game.
Yeah.
I love a good palace intrigue story.
Inquisition like had like some of the weakest new characters, I think, of any of the Dragon Age games. The only ones that I liked of the new characters were, I liked Solus, and who was the other mage, the one from Tevinter, the gay guy with the mustache.
Fuck, I forgot his name.
I'm trying to remember.
You see what I mean by the companions being fucking forgettable?
Yeah. Like, well, the other ones, like...
The only one that people remember is
it's
fucking,
Dorian. Dorian. Dorian was great. But the rest of them were terrible, you know?
I mean, I'm kind of great until Trespasser.
The one character that I was interested in was Cassandra, because she was a big part of the second game. So to finally like ally yourself with her, I thought was really cool. I ended up romancing her because
I didn't like
y'all know who I am about tomboys.
I mean,
I didn't like Cassandra at first because her personality just rubbed me the wrong way. She was very antagonistic, and I kind of get why, but still, I didn't respond to that.
Well, yeah, she's a paladin. She's kind of supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Personally, I love me a good crusade.
yeah.
So
I like Josie. I wish Josie was romanceable.
But yeah, like a lot of the other characters were just not remarkable, and the remarkable parts of the story were closing out plot elements from previous games. But Veilguard comes out, and it is largely being reviled by a lot of the old school Dragon Age fans. And there has been a attempt by many people to try and act as if this game is some sort of a big success. Jason Schreier tried to say that the Veilguard was like huge on Steam because it was the number one played game in a time where there was no competition. It was the new release. It was the only new release. They waited until Silent Hill 2 and Space Marine had already been out for a while before they released it, which is smart. You know, it's a good window. But even then, it didn't even touch other games in the same category. And as people have played it, it's been a similar sentiment. It's like, this is not the This is not what we signed up for when we got into Dragon Age. Because Dragon Age started out as a dark fantasy story, like Baldur's Gate. Because that's what it's the spiritual successor of. And it stayed dark fantasy. The second game is even darker than the original. A lot of people don't like it, which it's fine. Like everybody has their preferences. I love the second game personally. Inquisition is fairly dark, but it's a bit lighter.
My first game was Inquisition, and I never played a previous Dragon Age game.
See, the first two games are fucking dark.
Certainly dark. God, because wasn't in the first game there was a poor kid that was basically like mentally like dominating his family members just so that way they wouldn't like send him off to be turned into a wizard?
Yes. Basically, he didn't have any control of his powers. They had hired a fucking blood mage to try to teach him how to be a wizard, and that didn't quite work out. His mother was an idiot. That's the main thing I remember about it. Like, his mom was just fucking stupid. But yeah, that's the whole Bantegan saga at the beginning, where like you literally have a whole Night of the Living Dead thing where you have to fight off a horde of zombies before you can even go into the castle to try to save the kid.
Everything I did play of that game was not half bad. It's fantastic. I didn't manage to finish it, though. Really should try.
But reviews of this game that are coming out, like even the ones that are positive, are saying, I recommend this with caution. This is not for Dragon Age fans. Where it's like, it's the fourth game in a fucking franchise. How the fuck is it not?
I hate that. I hate that fucking pattern of thought. It's like, this is the new thing. It's not meant for the old people. This is for the new modern audience that's going to pop up and surely replace all the old foundations of the people that came before.
The question, so why the fuck are you creating another installment of that same franchise if it's not for the old fans?
Because they couldn't sell it otherwise.
Yeah, and even then it didn't sell. That's the thing. Because they said that it was like... Jason Schreier tried to act as if having... their all-time peak was around 89,000 players. Which doesn't sound bad on the surface until you compare it to the first 24 hours of Space Marine 2, which was almost at 250,000. Or you compare it to its direct competition in Baldur's Gate, which was on release, its all-time peak, almost, or at 750,000, or over that, 875,000 players. There are more people playing Baldur's Gate 3 right now, as we are recording this podcast. It's listed here as 79,200 players right now than people that were playing the Veilguard at its peak.
Brutal.
Baldur's Gate is still going strong.
Yeah.
It's been out for 2 years now?
It's been out for a year. 15 months specifically. And on top of that, Baldur's Gate 3 has had no downloadable content. None. Just updates.
Which is absurd in these days, it feels like.
Yeah. The general thought is...
They haven't had like sales in the game either, now that I can think about it.
Yeah, so like as they have been going along with this, like they're still like the game is still selling well. So it goes without saying that it wasn't that impressive. Then I want to read a review here from somebody who is a longtime Dragon Age fan over on Steam, named Goblin Smacker. He says, not recommended. He said the Veilguard is a lot like Mass Effect Andromeda. Arguably the best. Yeah, ouch. Arguably the best combat in the series, although I prefer my RTWP. Stunning graphics and environmental design, and never feels cumbersome to actually play. But also like Andromeda, Veilguard suffers from abysmal, sterilized, and insultingly safe writing. Little to no actual ability to shape your character's personality, and a complete disconnection to choices and events of past games in the series, which made sense for Andromeda with the whole switching galaxies thing. Veilguard almost feels afraid to mention any of the past games in a meaningful way. Characters like Morrigan and Harding, who return, don't feel or look like themselves. Harding in particular feels 10 years younger than herself in Inquisition. Returning characters can only mention past games in a vague way. You can't ask any of these characters anything worthwhile. BioWare throws away one of their more interesting villains in Solus in the first 10 minutes of the game to be replaced by two generically and cartoonishly evil bad guys. Ouch.
Wow. So there's no point in playing.
There really isn't, because Dragon Age, the whole thing about Dragon Age is how many characters have been involved in this narrative about the world, and one thing that they have been hinting at since the first game. So since, what one was that, 2009? Since that first game, they have been hinting at the idea that there are these dark gods that are the origins of the Blight, and every time that they are that a new one is awakened, it becomes the new archdemon, and they lead the Blight into Thedas. We've also been hinted at for ages that at some point one of these games is going to take place in the Tevinter Imperium, which is easily the single most fucked up place inside of all of Thedas. It is a slaver state. It is run by blood mages. Like, it's fucking, the way it's described is fucking horrifying. They sound like the fucking Drukhari when they're described, you know? And we get to this game, which is supposed to have all of these things, and it's not even a dark fantasy anymore? That's a slap in the face to me.
Favorite description of the genre is that it's twee and D. Like, you know, like they're too they don't want to wander out of their own experiences too far, which mostly has been up to this point school and watching TV. A lot of twee shit. They're tween being an adult and not an adult, where they have like literally no responsibilities, and it's starting to reflect in their writing, and it's getting awful because all they do is watch media, and then that's all. They don't wander out of it. They don't watch new things. They don't watch old things. They just watch the new thing, and it's getting awful because it's making everything else worse. It's like feeding an AI the same crap over and over again, and it's just getting worse and worse with every iteration. It's awful. I hate it. I hate the way these people write.
The funny thing about it, the one character that everybody is trashing the most, oddly enough, her new nickname, her, they, whatever, nickname is Trash, and it's called Tash. It is a new Kunari character that, I shit you not, they made the face of the reveal trailer. It is one of the worst designed characters in BioWare's history. Probably the worst.
Isn't that non-binary Kunari character?
Yes.
Which doesn't make any sense because the Kunari have always been
ordinarily very, very, very traditional.
Yeah. They wouldn't tolerate that shit.
They're the way that they were portrayed in Dragon Age, like, we only barely hear about them in Dragon Age 1 because they weren't really that well developed as a race. Sten, like, they didn't even have, like, the horns that now everybody, like, kind of recognizes them for. But in the second game, they were effectively a parallel to fundamentalist Muslim terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, fucking bold move, to say the least. But they were legitimately frightening in Dragon Age 2. Like, the political situation and them being where you are at in the free marches, there was always tension around them. Always. And it was great.
This is why I say.
Oh.
This is why I say Iron Bull was kind of great. He was kind of stood out of the that stereotype.
I fucking hated him.
I liked Iron Bull.
Here's the reason of course you would. Here's the reason I disliked him. He to me was emblematic of the possible future that BioWare was going to take a legitimately intriguing set of antagonists that you could have at any point in time and neuter them. Because for being as big as he is, the Iron Bull has no nuts. He is progressivism the character.
You see, I just thought he just like defected from his like culture, just like oriented or migrate, or at least what do you call it, like assimilated to human culture, which made him different. And I thought he was an exile from his race because he was too close to the humans or too into humans.
Well, and that was my general problem with him. It's just like by taking him away from that and basically have him be the anti-fundamentalist character, you made him boring. The interesting thing about the Kunari is their culture. Their culture is fucking brutal. And at that point is where they kind of started to neuter it, and then on top of that, with this new character, they completely destroy it. The fact of the matter is that this character in Kunari culture, the way that the Kunari were described in the first two games, would have been killed. They shouldn't exist.
Like,
and the funny thing about it is the person who wrote this character is not a new writer from BioWare. This is somebody who worked on Mass Effect, was one of Tali's primary writers.
Bullshit.
I am 100% serious.
Ugh.
The thing is, somewhere between Mass Effect and now they identify as non-binary. So effectively what they have done is created a self-insert character where there is an entire scene of her chewing out their fundamentalist mother for not accepting them.
When their mother just killed them.
Well, that's the thing. If they hadn't neutered the Kunari culture, this character would be dead.
Or at least you'd have a scene where like you're the Veilguard or whatever the fuck the main character is called. You're like having to defend her life against the fact that these things now see her as dead, and having to deal with the fact that she's now in exile from her fucking culture.
And wouldn't their culture hunt them down?
Their culture would hunt them. Yes.
I think it would have been interesting for Iron Bull if his culture actually started hunting him down. He was constantly on edge, looking over his shoulder.
Yeah, there's that. But the unfortunate part of this whole thing is that these are people that are culturally conflict averse. The writers, they've created this culture where you can't make an enemy character without, like, how do I put this? What do I keep hearing that noise? Anyway, so you can't make a character without endorsing them in some way, which is terrible, terrible, terrible for writers. And as a result, they can't make anything like interesting conflicts anymore, because if you have a bad guy you endorse, like depict on screen or your games or your books, suddenly that's an endorsement of some kind, and thus a blight on your character. And I hate the way they write. It's just
it's the general problem with representation. There's nothing wrong with having characters of different backgrounds, like in video games. I personally, I don't think I've ever complained about it. Like, I don't mind it at all. I love Mass Effect. In Mass Effect, there are characters of all different sizes and shapes and backgrounds and whatever. Love Mass Effect.
Fuck.
So what was that, Serena?
That you can fuck.
I mean, fair.
Yeah. I am admittedly a proud banger of Aquarian. I won't lie. But but no, it's like you get people from all different sorts of backgrounds. I mean the fucking journalist you punch is named Khalisa bin Sinan al-Jalani. She's obviously of Muslim descent. But the fact is that, like, that's not really the problem. The problem with representation is the character that you have created can't be a character anymore. Now they represent an entire people group. But because they represent that entire people group, they cannot be wronged.
And now because Tash is kind of like the representative for this semi-Islamic fundamentalist race, she can't be wronged. No,
Basically.
her family now has to kind of bend over and be like, yeah, whatever, I guess you're non-binary, you don't look at me anymore, whatever.
Yeah, in reality, it's like, and you can't, this character is a fucking brat. None of their dialogue is good. I've listened to a good chunks of it. They are just an unkind, unruly brat. It's just a millennial. Or not even, just a Zoomer. It is a Zoomer character. Why the fuck is there a Zoomer character in here? And even talks like a Zoomer in a faux medieval setting.
Yeah, I listened to the dialogue too, and it just kept taking me out of it every time this character speak. Also, why are we having a conversation about your fucking gender where that is irrelevant in a world where demons and dark gods are a fucking thing and the world is ending every 5 fucking minutes?
There's a whole goddamn lecture about being non-binary in the fucking video game. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't care. And this is the thing. The other thing is that you don't get the chance to call any of these characters really out on their bullshit. And the only conflicts that actually arise are so minor that it's kind of silly. It's like, oh, be nice, and it's just finger wagging. If Dragon Age had been written by writers with balls, which apparently there's people in this company that have just cut theirs off, over the last however many years, which is obvious by the customization options in this game. You know what I would be able to do if I'm being an evil character in this game? I would be calling Tash it. Which would be pretty fucking evil compared to what these people consider. But it would give me freedom to roleplay.
Mm-hmm. And then
by the way,
have in conflicts, it'll be like, how dare you call me it?
Yeah, basically. I mean, these are from developers where in like the Mass Effect games and also in Dragon Age, there are scenarios where you can kill your party members.
Baldur's Gate lets you do that all the fucking time, anytime.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is, if we're like, I feel like comparing it to this game to Baldur's Gate is kind of unfair in some points, because Baldur's Gate is a throwback in a lot of ways to what BioWare used to be,
and probably why the fucking BioWare devs have been so chapped about Baldur's Gate 3.
It wouldn't surprise me because they're doing everything that BioWare used to do and doing it competently. I mean, I remember playing Baldur's Gate 3. Do you have any idea how many times I had to separate Lae'zel and Shadowheart? I had to literally stop them from killing one another.
But no, conflict-averse, progressive writing, and it's just, I hate it. I hate it so fucking much because they don't want to let any of their pet projects get hurt. Not a single one. They don't want to examine any of the faults.
Meanwhile, over at Baldur's Gate 3, you can decapitate Karlach instead of bringing her into your party.
The kindest person in the entire fucking game. You can just decap right there. Just take your warlock at his word. That's all you got to do.
Basically.
And then you get a warlock without horns, but hey.
So, when it comes right down to it, it's like, what we have effectively got was a video game that tries to kind of be as nice as possible so it can be for everybody and be inclusive, but nobody wants to play it because it has no identity. It's not Dragon Age anymore. It doesn't, it has none of the interesting elements of Dragon Age. All of the dark fantasy has been effectively just removed from it. And they were already moving away from dark fantasy and Inquisition, which I wasn't a fan of. I don't dislike Inquisition, but I honestly believe it's weaker than the original and 2. Especially in regards to characterization, because again, all the interesting characters that are in Inquisition are characters from the previous games. Except for Solus and Dorian. Because the thing about Dorian is Dorian was your cultural gateway into the Tevinter Imperium, because that's where he was from, and then Solus was an ancient elven god. So, and there were great moments in Inquisition. The stuff between Morrigan and her mother and her son. Like, dude, I was invested, largely because in my game, that kid was the child of my Grey Warden from the original game. That I was a version of the character I was very attached to, because I actually managed to romance both Leliana and Morrigan to the point where I had them fighting over me.
Why does the kid have an ancient god soul again? Like, why? Like, I never understood that.
Oh,
because I didn't play the previous game.
So yeah, it's because you've never played the original. Basically, what happens is, you're the thing about every time there's a blight. So what the blight does is it unleashes these creatures called the Darkspawn. The Darkspawn are effectively orcs on bath salts. They are fucking psychotic, and on top of that, if you're exposed to their blood too much, you get something that's called, you basically turn into one. You get something that's called the blight. And
you get blighted.
Yeah, it's bad. And there are these dudes called the Grey Wardens that ingest a certain amount of their Darkspawn blood that has been mixed with other elements that allows them to detect Darkspawn and fight them. The gimmick is that the thing that leads the blight is this thing called an archdemon, which is a giant dragon that is effectively an old elven god that has been reawakened by the Darkspawn. It's an apocalypse level event, essentially. At the end of the game, there are only two Grey Wardens left, you and Alistair. One of you has to sacrifice yourself, because whenever you kill a Grey Warden kills the Archdemon, the soul of that elven god goes into the body of that person and kills them. It's basically sacrificing yourself to save the world. There is another option. If there is a child of a Grey Warden somewhere near this thing, the soul of that elven god will go into the child instead. So what you do is you have sex with Morrigan the night before. And then Morrigan gets pregnant, and then the child is born. So that was the soul that was there. Is that elven god that the Grey Ward kills in the original game was also his child.
So how does the child not die or get completely corrupted by it?
Because it's a kid and it's magic.
Don't think too hard on it. It's clear that they've stopped thinking about it.
It's one of those things where it's like, if you start getting too autistic about it, it's like you're kind of picking it apart too much, and you kind of ruin the fun for yourself. The basic idea is that it's a child. It doesn't really have a soul yet because it's still in the womb because it hasn't developed. So effectively, it's like a blank slate for that elven god to go into and to merge with.
So becomes pregnant at the end of Dragon Age 2?
Yeah. That's what I meant. Like at the end of Dragon Age 1, Morrigan is with child. There's DLC of the game that takes place after. Like the great thing about Dragon Age Origins is like there's a bunch of stories that take place after the main game, and the last one is with the Warden and Morrigan, and you can kind of decide where you go. But it takes place a year after you had last seen her. And it's basically where the Warden finds out, yeah, you're a dad. Provided you were playing as a guy. It's like, yeah, you're a father. The child is safe. But right now you can't be part of his life. Because there's just some other shit going on.
Oh, man.
One thing that actually frustrates me about this game is that's a story that I'm obviously invested in as a player, because I've got this whole fucking, like, in my playthrough of the game, I got this whole fucking weird shit going on with the Warden, where I was in a relationship with Morrigan, broke it off with her, started dating Liliana. But I did the Dark Ritual at Liliana's behest because she didn't want me to die. But then the story afterwards is, and it's confirmed in Inquisition that if you romance Liliana in the original game, she's married to the Warden. They're hitched.
Oh, that's complicated.
Oh yeah. So I'm invested in this because.
So you got another woman pregnant at the behest of your wife, and now you also have a kid by another woman walking around.
That has the soul of a dead god in it, and it deserves the complicated fucking status.
Oh yeah,
that could make a TV show out of that, and I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's so much more interesting than the Veilguard.
15 years ago, I would have said yeah, sure, but no. After seeing shit like fucking The Lord of the Rings, the bad Star Wars shows that they come
do the Dark Ritual with Liliana. It has to be with Morrigan.
Has to be with Morrigan because she is a mage.
She's a mage, yeah, and she's got some kind of secret behind her, but
can't go into detail on that. You need to play the original game.
Yeah.
If only those things where it's like, this game, in my opinion, should have just been a Return of the Grey Warden. You play as your character from the original game. You're fighting and you're stopping another blight that's gonna start in Tevinter. But instead they decide to do whatever the fuck this is. It seems to me that BioWare's last chance is this last Mass Effect game that they're working on. Supposedly, it is going to follow up on the story of Shepard. And to be honest with you, I have no hope for it, because Andromeda was terrible.
Isn't Shepard's story done?
In my opinion, yes.
So why we go back to him?
Because he's popular.
He's popular, and also they've had 3 failures so far. It feels like 3 abject failures. So you have Veilguard, then you have Andromeda, which was made fun of for the weird faces that they all had, and the absolute just dog shit everything they had about it. Like, no effort was done on it, because it feels like they just outsourced everything. And so previous to that would have been the Mass Effect 3's ending.
Yeah.
No, they're on the last legs of the last legs, and I don't think they have a cracked engineer or software engineer that can save them, to be honest.
No, because what they need right now is writers that are willing to be bold. Like, the thing about Mass Effect, the thing about Dragon Age is that there was a boldness to it. I think that a lot of gaming back at that time, that generation, the Xbox 360 generation, that which PS3 also, but like, I was an Xbox guy at the time. Like, you go back, you look at the games that came out during that time, and there was a boldness to them, a lack of restraint. It kind of felt like the gloves were off in regards to, like, making video games. Like, we're gonna make the kind of games that we want to see made. And there were so many good video games at that time period. It's, in my opinion, it's the best generation of video games that we have had since the SNES and the Genesis. I think a lot of it is competition. Competition was very fierce at the time, so everything had to be really good. But on top of that, I feel that political correctness has sort of taken its toll on the industry, and this is a really good example of it. You know, we have writers that, again, worked on Mass Effect, which is a series where you could, in the first game, you can genocide the Rachni. You can kill a... Yeah, just because. Well, there's reasons. But it's just still mean. You could also kill some of your companions rather coldly. There's one mission in the game where you can lose 2 of them, and you only get 6. Yeah, 6. So, like, you could lose like a third of your people in one fucking mission if you don't play your cards right. You can lose Rex, and you can lose either Caden or Ashley. So after you kill Caden and leave, because Caden sucks, the funny thing is that, or like, after that, like, you're effectively stopping another genocide, and you find out that the big bad aren't robots, they're Lovecraftian gods that are also robots. Bold as fuck. Dragon Age Origins was a bloody fucking mess. Violent sex, like, just like a unrestrained dark fantasy with human sacrifices, blood magic, the whole 9 yards. Like, it would not let up. And BioWare needs to go back to that essence if they're gonna survive. Because when people play Mass Effect, they expect interesting characters, a unique galaxy, and high-stakes storytelling. And they want to be able to be a military commander. If we're doing Commander Shepard again, and he's being nice to everybody, oh, you done fucked up. This is a dude that, like, you can impale a dude in the back with a fucking arc welding tool after going, you're working too hard. Stink! You could shove people out of skyscrapers. You could shoot people in the face. Like, the shit you can do in Mass Effect 3 is fucking cold. You could perpetuate genocide. Like, Mass Effect gets fucking wild. But that's what people love about it. Is how you can basically be... Shepard can be whatever you want him to be. It's glorious. If I want Shepard to effectively be turbo racist man, he can be. If I want him to be a paragon of justice, he can be. That sort of freedom to roleplay is what people looked for in BioWare games, because that was a consistent thing that you had with them. From Baldur's Gate to Knights of the Old Republic to Jade Empire to Mass Effect to Dragon Age. Like, you had that feeling that you could really mold your character however you wanted them to be. And with this, like, all the edge is taken off. I like having a bit of edge and a little bit of, like, maturity to it. Like, one of the ones is you find in Lair of the Shadow Broker, you find that Tali has had a crush on Shepard since the first game, and during that time, she had ordered books on human sexuality and a device for her suit called Nerve Stim Pro.
Damn, she really won that Shepard dick.
She really did. Like, it's wild. But it's like, but yeah, it's, it can get very mature in that manner. You know, there's the whole Cora's Den thing, in the original game, where you can literally walk into a strip club. Like, people dig that, but also you can still have your wholesomeness and things like that, but if you only have one, or if you just, like, the world just becomes too saccharine. And then on top of that, if you add in, like, just lectures about fucking non-binary shit, I'm checking out. I don't really care if the character's non-binary. You know? I really don't care. As long as they're a good character. What you've presented is not good. It's just boring.
Marks on a fucking checklist.
Basically. So anyway, to close this out, the FailedGuard is a good thing. BioWare has one shot left at justifying its existence. If they fuck up Mass Effect, like the characters we care about, oh, you're done. And nobody will care when EA shuts you down. All right. So this is a follow-up from a topic that we've had before. Palworld. More specifics of the lawsuit are coming out. And effectively what they are being sued over is the act of aiming... This is from someone's summary on Twitter of the act of aiming and throwing, collision, and a game character moving with another one.
Do you realize how little that narrows it down?
Okay, so that's the unfortunate reality of patent trolling, is that you want as vague an action as you possibly describe and say, this is our patent, you're not allowed to use it. And I this is genuine patent trolling. There's no way around this.
Especially when you consider the fact that when they registered the patents was very recently, if I remember right. It was around the time that Palworld had gotten announced, wasn't it?
Yes. About that? Maybe a couple months after.
Actually, no. Patent application date, July 30th, 2024.
So this...
This year, all three patents were from this year. patent 754191. Patent application date July 30th. Patent 7493117. February 26th of this year. Patent number 7528390. March of this year.
It's almost been a year for Palworld.
Yeah. Basically what they are saying is they are seeking an injunction against Palworld, which we don't know what the specifics of that are. A payment of 5 million yen plus late payment damages to the Pokemon Company and Nintendo. So 5 million yen each, which is like $64,000 between the two, which is not much. Effectively, it's effectively what Nintendo is doing here. Is they are filing this lawsuit, but the dollar amount is ridiculously low. Now we don't know what the damages are, because damages could be anything. And we don't know what this injunction is either. And what that could be. What we do know is that Pocket Pear wants to fight this. And God bless him. I hope that they see it through to the end, honestly. Because what Nintendo is trying to do here is nefarious. I don't care what Nintendo fans say on this, because I don't see how you can not see what's going on as nefarious. Because it's not just the late registration of the patents. It's the simple fact that the dollar amount is so low.
Which means that the action that they want is more important to them than the money itself.
Exactly. They are looking to set a precedent. They are setting it to like so low because they've got 5 million yen, more than that. They've got that game sold like $500 million if I remember right in gross sales. Like they've got money. And it's not even done. It's still in early access. So, what we're looking at is they are looking to set the precedent that, if they can get away with patenting game mechanics and then fucking the rest of the industry with them. Because it's like, if you can patent throw ball at thing, or have companion monster with you, how many games does that fuck over? Especially because they're so broad.
A lot. I can name a few.
Can't name one, TBH, but that's because I haven't really looked into them, to be honest. I don't really care for Pokemon.
This could potentially fuck over Atlas, given their Persona and S&T franchise are uber popular, and those basically have you catching and using demons in Persona, demon Persona, what the fuck you want to call them in game. Negotiations, bribery to get them to join your team.
Yeah. There's also the whole just a game character moving with another. So every RPG even in the 2D era is fucked. You would have to give money to Nintendo, even though they didn't come up with that. Like that's bullshit. Like I'm already not a fan of the idea of patenting a gameplay mechanic. Like I really don't
like the idea. Okay, you know who's another terrible fucking patent troll? The fucking Warner Brothers for patenting the Nemesis system from Shadows of Mordor.
I was just about to mention that. You read my mind, dude.
Yeah. And they just sitting on it. Nobody's using it.
The what? Patent for what? Shadows of what?
Okay, so in Shadows of Mordor, you know that system where you can sneak up on one of the Orc tribal members and then beat them up, and then they come back but worse in some way. Usually aware of the way you killed them. Well,
Okay.
Warner Brothers owns the patent to that, and nobody else is allowed to use it unless they pay Warner Brothers for the money for that. It goes out in, I think it finally expires in 28, but someone was saying that it got extended to 2048, which is bullshit. They haven't been using it. So why are they getting an extension on that fucking thing? Ugh. I hate software patents. I understand the purpose of them, but you really should not be allowed to be able to patent game mechanics. Because that's where a lot of the tabletop innovations came from, is like being able to take D&D's basic system and saying, okay, here's my 6 stats, these is toughness, strength, whatever, and then making your own shit with them. It stifles innovation all the way down, and I fucking hate it. Ugh. Disgusts me.
It's one of those things where all you're really doing is cordoning off people's ability to take an idea and expand on it. And I despise that. What were we going to say, Serena?
I was going to say expand. Also, it's skimmy as fuck.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I look at it and I'm like, man, what the actual fuck is going on? Like, so yeah, I think that honestly a lot of the gaming world is rooting for the Palworld devs on this, and rightfully so, because Nintendo is just in the wrong here.
I hear word from the Japanese that they are rooting for the Nintendo, but on the other hand, let's just hope that they fucking get it. Especially if they fuck up and get it somewhere in an American court.
Yeah,
But I don't.
It's one of those things where it's like they don't have a case. At least not in the States. But I don't know with Japan.
It depends on the judge involved, because there's a lot of activist judges in Japan, and they tend to hate pirates and thieves, and they might be able to convince this boomer judge that this is an act of piracy.
Oh man. Well, we'll have to see how it plays out, but fingers crossed that that we're able to, get some actual justice here, and Nintendo can get fucked. We have a button for this.
Fuck 'em.
Alright, so to close this out, sometimes I wonder, how stupid can you get? I feel like Johnny Somali stupid is a new level. So, Mike, what is? Can you tell our audience what the history of this moron is?
Okay, to sum it up, Johnny Somali is a nuisance streamer, which means, okay, so there's a sub-variation on a real-life streamer in which someone will just go about their daily business and then stream at the same time and then take messages and then tell them to the surrounding people, for entertainment for the crowd. It's weird. I get it, but it's weird. And the sub-variants of that type of streamer is the nuisance streamer, who takes a stream, walks around, and then makes a nuisance of themselves somehow for money. And Johnny Somali is one of the more well-known ones because he's been kicked out of so many countries just for his behavior. Like the last thing that he got out, he got deported from Japan. It's not hard to get deported from Japan, but that he got deported from Japan for, I think it was like 10 years. And, oh goodness. How does he still have... Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's see. I'm just looking up some stuff here because I'm just trying to figure out where he got kicked out from, and it seems like first he started his shtick down in Japan to annoy the people there, and it got so bad that the Japanese people started calling him slurs in public, and it takes a lot to piss off the Japanese. Which came to a head in which he got attacked a couple times in public by random Japanese guys who, goodness, but the big thing about his behavior in Japan is that there's a law against being depicted in video without permission. And bro was not blurring anybody's faces out. So there's that. And he would, Johnny Somali, he would go around basically just causing problems everywhere in Japan. For instance, in June 2023, he went to the Tokyo Disney Resort and then played music with the lyrics containing the phrase atom bomb, and then started recording their reactions without anybody's permission.
Jeez.
And then he went to a hotel construction site in Osaka the next month. In August, 2 months later, where he yelled Fukushima at the construction workers. And then he was in September. He was arrested on conspiracy of abduction of business when they disrupted a restaurant by playing extremely loud noises and music during business hours. He claimed that the reason the music was playing because the phone producer, Huawei, put a Chinese virus on the phone. This was later brought up in court where the judge found him guilty and stated he could have just turned the volume down on his phone. And then in December of that year, they made him pay a fine of roughly 200,000 yen. And he was voluntarily returned to the U.S. And then he went over to Israel after this. And then he got in a fight with the Jewish and the Arabs there.
Because of course he did.
Because of course he did. He went to the Western Wall and started attaching images of Harvey Weinstein, Aiden Ross, and Jeffrey Epstein to the wall, proclaiming Weinstein as one of his top Jews and making insulting remarks towards Ross. He was arrested and he received a 50-day ban from Jerusalem. That's... What the fuck, man? Jesus. And then in April, just 2 days later, he was detained at a protest in Tel Aviv for sexual harassment of a female police officer. And then 16 minutes later, he claimed that he's witnessed a mass shooting at a restaurant. Oh, goodness. He was then assaulted like a month later for snitching. But, yeah. And then he, oh boy. Oh god, he went to South Korea. Oh yeah, so when he went to South Korea this year, March 10th, he threatened to slap a BTS member. Oh goodness, bro could not have picked the worst type of people to pick a fight with. Oh, BTS fans are ridiculous. They are beyond, what's her face's name? I can't remember her goddamn name. The only girl carrying the, Taylor Swift. They're worse than Taylor Swift fans.
Oh, Jesus.
They will find your house in like minutes if they want to. They are that ridiculous. And
This
they are
is what happens when you fuck around and find out.
that That should have been his warning not to go to South Korea. So, finally, he ends up going there in October, like last month. And he starts performing lap dances on the statues that depicted comfort women. Which, for those Zoomers who didn't pay attention to history, comfort women were essentially forced concubines for Japanese soldiers. And he was disrespecting these statues. And then he would play like speeches by Kim Jong-un out in public while making obscene noises with his phone. And then he got kicked out of a bus. And then people started, after this point, people start like chasing him. A bounty was set up over in Korea to find Johnny Somali, and that anybody who assaulted him would have their bail paid, as long as they claimed that he started the fight.
Oh, get fucked.
So, to sum up the South Korean justice system, if you are not Korean, you're fucked. Because everyone else's weight in Korea has more weight than your whatever you say. Even if there's footage. I am dead serious. Even if there's footage of you being like punched in the face, flat out by some Korean dude, and he claims that you started the fight, the Korean man is the one that's in the correct here. The police will have you arrested for getting fucking punched. And
They do not give a fuck.
they do not give a fuck. They are very Confucian as hell. The old Confucian system, meaning that you have more power if you're male, old, and have money. And they added it recently where it's, well, if you're Korean as well. So if you're male, older, have money, and Korean, you are on the top of the pecking order. Which kind of explains why nobody likes going to South Korea. But anyway, there have been there was a ex-special forces member recently who beat the shit out of Somali, got put in jail, accused Somali of starting the fight, and got bail. And the bounty. And people keep getting more money from doing this. And recently, it's gotten so bad that Johnny Somali is forbidden from leaving South Korea because he's considered a flight risk. Justifiably so, because he's an American citizen. However, South Korea and the U.S. have an extradition treaty, which means that if they really want to, they can keep them there as long as they need to.
Which is fucking hilarious. On top of that, this actually broke as we're recording the podcast. He got into more trouble.
How?
Johnny
Fucking
Somali, listen to this. Johnny Somali may face up to 7 years in jail in South Korea for using AI to fake having a Korean girlfriend.
Oh my god.
This is on top of existing charges that could see him get to up to 10 years of jail time.
So yeah, he's gonna fucking die in that country.
Well, if he doesn't, because he's a young kid, he's like 24 or something. He's not going to leave that country till he's in his like late 30s.
Oh,
but
if he goes to jail, they're going to kill him in there.
He gonna die.
Well,
Korean jails are not to be fuck around with. Oh,
it's only one person's fault, and it's his own. Because like, I don't know how much money this guy is making off a Kick. Because I'm assuming that's where he's still streaming. I don't know how much money he's making. But that is the only motivator, aside from just being a psycho, the only motivator that I could think of to why
Oh.
somebody would act the way that he's acting.
Okay, I
And-
see. Keep going. I'll explain what I see in a bit.
Okay, so at this point, it's like the only ways that this kid is going to learn is if somebody puts him in jail, or like he faces some sort of consequence for his actions. Because like I'm of the opinion that the 50-day in Jerusalem like was not enough. Like they should have beaten the piss out of that kid, but it didn't happen. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so the reason why I was going, oh, that's why. So in Korea, in September 26th, they passed a bill so that makes it so that those who possess sexually explicit deepfakes of other individuals may be hit with up to 7 years of jail time and a fine around 22,000 USD. Him having the deepfake AI of the Korean girl and claiming her to be his girlfriend is sexually explicit deepfaking. So that's where it came
hilarious.
from. I wanted to figure out why he was going to get arrested for this, and that's basically it. Yeah, he worked with her briefly. She's just some Korean IRL streamer just like him, but she's not a nuisance streamer as far as I can tell. But yeah, let me go see the other charges he's got. So, he's trying to get out of it with this fake apology that he's made. He's not sorry that he's done this. He's sorry he's got caught. So, yeah.
Thing is that it's the government that's going to be pressing charges, not the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling they're going to see it through.
I wouldn't be surprised if they hang him. Oh. Poor guy. It's his own fault.
Yeah. At the end of the day, man, it's like... It goes back to that fucking TikTok video. It's like, if you fuck around at a 7, you're going to find out at a 7. This guy is fucking around at like a 15.
So yeah, he's facing charges of assault and narcotics use. That also makes it a lot more complicated, because all the Asian countries hate drugs.
Indeed.
They
Why
hate the
is
users. It's deleterious to the social fabric.
Drugs are bad. Okay?
Drugs are bad, okay? Like, you can't even have weed in Japan without them, like, treating it as if you're having heroin. Which, to be fair, considering the average behavior of the Japanese, kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Needless to say, though, whatever happens next to this goofball, he deserves it. Let's be honest. So, that brings us to the end of our show this week. Definitely, we had a lot to say about fucking Veilguard. But I think
God.
for good reason. Like, for me personally, like, Dragon Age Origins... you heard my description of my story in that game. It's fucking complicated. But it played out so naturally, and it felt great. The only drawback to that game for me was that the character of Alistair could be a little too Joss Whedon. But other than that, like, it's one of those things where what was it, Serena?
What do you mean a little too Josh Wheaton? What do you mean by that?
He used a lot of
little too
Whedonisms.
twee. It was the era, to be fair.
Yeah,
And that was before he got canceled.
basically.
But feet. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, just Whedon loves feet. It's off-putting. But yeah, no, it was just the era. All the what ifs makes me sad. Because getting that the Grey Warden goop makes you technically immortal, right?
No, the Grey Wardens, you will die at some point. There's a point that it gets to called the Calling, where your blood will get to a point, the nightmares that you consistently have about the Darkspawn will get to a point where you're effectively starting to turn. And at that point, what Grey Wardens do is they go into the deep roads to kill as many Darkspawn as they can before they die.
A noble death.
Basically.
So they have to go to deep to prevent themselves from becoming a darkspawn.
Effectively.
Or
So-
if they happen to turn while they're down there, they're in good company.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very grim, dark ending. Very Warhammer. So then again, the original Dragon Age Origins is a very grim, dark game. But in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to see them effectively butcher the series it's disheartening, to say the least. But for those of you who are out there, we appreciate you listening to us. One thing I would ask for anybody who's listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast network, if you would please take a little bit to leave a rating for the show if you enjoyed it. Rate it whatever you feel like it deserves. But any ratings at all are going to help us grow, and we are trying to grow this show as much as we can. Also, do not forget, if you have not already, Serena's mailing list for Black Rhapsody Book 2 is still up. Getting closer to 100 signups on that list, I believe. I'm actually checking the number right now as we speak, because I am curious as to where we're at with this. Because I have been pushing this one pretty hard on my own social media. She's at 91 addresses, so we only need 9 more to reach 100.
Oh my.
Yeah. Told you I was going to push this thing hard.
I just came off a stream. I didn't think. Oh wow.
We're gonna bully you, Serena. You woman. You of color.
Exactly.
How dare you be black? I guess.
He's intimidated.
Oh, stop! Between the three of us, we could call this fucking this podcast Minority Report if we wanted to. A native, a black woman, and a Jew walk into a bar.
Oh God.
But anyway,
looked up as it's a joke.
Oh man. Oh God. But we also have to say a thank you to everybody out there listening for also making Cyberpop Control Theory the first in the Cyberpop franchise a success on Indiegogo. After 60 days, we raised $30,318 and had over 400 backers on it, and it continues to get more people signing up and backing the book as well. Plus, on top of that, we're going to be sending out Inglewood books in the very near future as well, which is also really exciting for me. So, yeah, it's awesome stuff because that means we'll be able to go live with the St. Peregrine crossover in the near future as well, which is amazing to finally get that off the ground. So, and we couldn't do it without you guys. We appreciate you. So, we are going to take off. We will hopefully be back next week with more absolute insanity from the entertainment world, and maybe Johnny Somali will be behind bars. We'll see what happens. So,
I hope so.
Yeah. So for Serena and Mike, my name is Micah Curtis, the head of Grindstone Arts. Everybody have yourselves a great week, and we will see you all next time.
Frick.